I remember going out and visiting schools, and guys are focusing on things that would be nice to do, but they're not doing all the must-dos.
Are you looking for a way to drive growth, sales, communication, and retention in your academy? Kovar Systems 6-month Program Director course is designed to help members of your team thrive in the important role of Program Director. With step-by-step training, we will cover a wide range of topics, including prospect follow-up, overcoming objection, and securing enrollments. Our program will teach your team members to effectively communicate the values and benefits of martial arts, which can be a game changer in securing more enrollments at your academy. Our next 6-month course starts on this date, so don't wait and visit our site www.kovarsystems.com to get your team enrolled in the upcoming course. Again, that's www.kovarsystems.com. Enroll now and get ready to see some real results in your business.
Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters Podcast, the ultimate resource for ambitious, hardworking school owners that want to get their business and their life to the next level. My name is Dave Kovar. I'm a lifetime martial artist, business owner, speaker, and author. My goal is to empower listeners with the knowledge and the tools they need to break through barriers and really get their business and their life to the next level. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kovar, and today I'm going solo. I got an important topic for school owners and business owners and instructors, and it is retention skills. We're really going to focus on things that you can do to keep your students, to keep your customers, and things that are tangible that you can get at right away. So I want to start out by sharing a story with you. Years and years ago, I would go out to visit all our locations, and I would talk to some of our instructors, and a lot of them, really, we have this amazing team, and they're focusing on stuff that is like, I look at things like this: must do, should do, nice to do. There's certain things you must do if you own a business. You must do if you own a martial arts school. There's certain things that are nice to do, and there's things that you should do, and there's certain things that are nice to do. And what I think would happen is, I remember going out and visiting schools, and guys are focusing on things that would be nice to do, but they're not doing all the must-dos. So it got me thinking, all right, there's all these nice things. It would be great. For example, imagine if you were able to do valet parking for all your students. That would be a nice to do. It's not realistic. It would be probably for most people. It'd be nice to offer everybody hot coffee or hot tea. That's a nice to do, but it's not a must do, right? And so what happened was, I found ourselves, we were doing a lot of stuff that was cool, but in the process, because you can't do everything, we were missing some of the core stuff, some of the must-dos. And so I got together with some of my senior members of the team, and we came up with what we call the 5 core mindsets, things that you got to do every day. And that's where I want to start. And this is kind of some general things that running a martial arts school, and then we're going to get more specific with retention. But the 5 mindsets are, number 1 is, we're the friendliest place in town. What the heck does that mean? You know, we got to understand, when people come into a business for the first time, they're deciding very quickly if they like this place or not. Okay. That first impression is crucial. And it's very cliche, but it's true. You only get, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. And so chances are, one of the things, especially with the martial arts business, it can be pretty intimidating going to a martial arts school. You don't know if you're going to have to spar with the sensei, or someone's going to break a board over your forehead for entrance to the school. Who knows, right? So that if you can create an environment where, everybody is just friendly and welcoming. And that doesn't just the instructors, but imagine that oozes through and seeps into every student in your school. So you've got some 8-year-old yellow belt, and he shows up at the school, and he's there a little early, and a brand new white belt shows up. That 8-year-old yellow belt knows to be friendly and to introduce himself. So it's a culture thing that chances are a lot of you guys already have in place, but if you don't, it's worth looking into. So that's the first one. We're the friendliest place in town. The second one is, we're the cleanest place in town. And what am I talking about by that? Well, you can't always control how many times the phone rings, or how many inquiries you have, or how many inquiries you have online, or how many walk-ins you have. That's sometimes you can influence that by your actions, of course, but you can control how clean your school is. And this is one of those things that doesn't seem like at first glance, oh yeah, of course you need to keep have a clean school, but it is crucial. Most of the decision makers, if you run a family martial arts school, but most of the decision makers are the moms. And I remember one time I had this grandma come into the school to enroll her grandson. And I was talking to her in the lobby, and she said, yeah, we were really happy to be here. We went to another school down the street, but they weren't very good, so we came here. And I happened to know the school she was talking about. He's actually very good. And I go, really? What do you mean you're not very good? And she goes, oh, their bathrooms are dirty. That's what she based her decision on. right? And so, keeping the place clean, it's tricky, man. But the more you can do that, and that of course would mean, finding something to do with the odor as well. And we know it can get pretty rough at 6, 7 in the evening when there's a bunch of people and they're sweating. But what can you do to make it as clean smelling and looking as possible? And also for us, because we run a family dojo, it's really clean language too, like, appropriate, politically correct, appropriate environment, etc. So that's that. The third one is we only teach great classes, never just good classes. And this is a mindset. I tell you what, as an instructor, I've walked off the mat plenty of times thinking, hey, that was a pretty good class. Okay. I just literally before recording this podcast, I just got back from, that's my logoed polo I've got on. I just got back from doing what we call Live Safe training. It's our personal protection program that we actually have a contract with Sacramento County. And I just got done, and guess what? It was a pretty good class. I did a pretty good job. Right. And it feels good at the end. There's been plenty of times when I got off the mat after class thinking, what the heck happened, right? In other words, they're not always great classes, but your intent is to have them be great classes. So that third point, we're only teach great classes, never just good classes. This is super important because our product is the mat. And what I look at is like this. Every time I step out on the floor, let's say there's 20 people in class, I imagine, and I don't know the exact number, but I'm guessing at any given time, there's 10 to 20% of your student body that's losing interest. So if I have 20 people in the class, that means 2 or 3 people are losing interest. And so what I'm guessing is, oh man, somebody here's losing their interest. I got to make sure I teach a good enough class to where they all come back one more time. That's the intention. And super important, right? And more on this later. The number 4 is we are excellent at student-parent communication. And I think as an industry, that's probably where we're the weakest, is that, we tend to maybe not give people feedback on how they're doing, right? So when I'm thinking about student-parent communication, I'm thinking about it a couple different ways. Number 1 is general announcements. Let's say you're not going to have any regular classes on Friday due to a belt promotion. Okay. If a bunch of people still show up for class, that's on you. You didn't do a very good job of letting the word out, right? Every now and then one might show up, but if there's a bunch, man, the communication is always the job of the communicator, not the communicatee. Okay. And another note is making sure that you're giving students feedback on a regular basis. It's important to remember that feedback is the breakfast of champions, and people want to know how they're doing. And you never know, man. You never know. Someone's been coming to class on a regular basis. Outwardly, they look like they're totally into it. Okay. They train hard and they're getting better. You don't bother to tell them. You don't bother to gives them feedback, and in their head going, I don't know if I'm getting any better or not. Maybe this isn't for me. And that moment to walk over and say, hey man, I just want to let you know you are improving dramatically, and here's how. And oh, by the way, you could also work on this. That might be one of those things that just kind of keeps them in the game, right? And number 5 is every day we look for opportunities to recruit new member. Meaning we're always recruiting. We're always looking. Doesn't matter. You might go, man, right now, man, I'm packed. I don't have any room for students. Well, when that's going on, you're still working on recruiting, even if it's a waiting list, because I promise you, it's not always going to be like that. How many times in my career have I backed off of marketing and advertising and asking for referrals because we were so packed with students? And usually it takes 2 or 3 months to see the effect. But what do you know, 2 or 3 months later, we're looking up and what's going on, man? Our active count is dropping. It's not gaining. And then, you work hard to make that, turn that around. It takes 2 or 3 months to get that effect again. So always be recruiting. Okay. So if you can remember those 5 things, that's the core. Those are the must-dos to run a successful martial arts school. Now, there's certainly other things you should do, but if you start with that, man, that every day, that would be a really good kind of guideline to go with. We're the friendliest place in town. We're the cleanest place in town. We only teach great classes, never just good classes. We are excellent at student-parent communication, and every day we look for opportunities to recruit new members. If we can do that, man, I tell you what, that's going to go a long way. Now, specifically, I wanted to spend some time talking about retention. Now, we've got somebody, that's coming to school. What can we do to keep them? Right? So first and foremost, I think this is really important. If you have a lot of people that show up for their first class and don't come back again, understand what that means. You're not scratching their itch. It takes a lot of effort to come in and down to your school and do a trial. I mean, people don't do that unless they're pretty interested, right? And if they do the trial and say, I'm not coming back, that means that basically they fired you, right? So I think one of the key things is by the way, friendly, clean, all that stuff goes into play. That's our ground rule, right? But I think specifically someone comes in for the first class, we want to make sure we scratch their itch. What does that mean? We got to know what they're looking for. We got to know what they're looking for themselves or their children, for kids, because the bottom line, if we do, then we can adjust a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean we do a different class based on what they're looking for. But let's say, for example, I'm a parent. Parent number one has brought their child to us because they are looking for, their child's a little rambunctious. My experience is that with kids, very, very generalizing a lot. Parents bring their kids to us for one of two reasons.
Ready to elevate your martial arts teaching skills to the next level? Join us for the next Kovar's Instructor Bootcamp. Learn from experienced martial arts trainers through interactive workshops, dynamic demonstrations, and hands-on training. Refine your teaching strategies, enhance your communication skills, and deepen your understanding of how to lead a successful martial arts class. Enrolling you and your team will emphasize personal growth and leadership skills, empowering them to become more confident and capable leaders. This, in turn, boosts your school's reputation, attracts new students, and contributes to long-term success of your academy. Don't miss this chance to take your teaching skills to new heights. Register now and take your martial arts teaching skills to the next level.
Don't have enough self-control. Maybe they're a little overconfident and their attention span is bad and they're all over the place. We're trying to get them to be more focused or the alternative is they're shy and withdrawn. We're trying to bring them out of their shell a little bit more, right? But let's say I've got parent number one is there because their child needs focus and attention. Okay. Parent number two is there because their child lacks confidence and they're very shy. Okay. So two different things that parents are looking for. You have both parents watching class and both kids are standing in attention stance, still as a statue. Parent number one who wants more focus. My message to them is completely different. It's like, look at how good Bobby's. See how straight he's being. See how focused he's doing. It's really impressive. If we can get him to really focus on the mat, it's going to transfer to other areas of his life. For parent number two, who wants their child to become more confident and is shy, parent number, look at that. Look at your son. Look how straight look how his shoulders are back and his chin, and look how he's projecting confidence. Because I know what they're looking for, I can address their needs a little bit more. So that's super important. When someone comes in, make sure you know what they're looking for and do the best you can to give that to them. Now, the bottom line is people start for one reason, they'll stay for an entirely different set of reasons, okay? And so bottom line, maybe someone starts because they want to learn how to defend themselves. They're not training with you for years for that reason, right? That's going to get them started, but eventually they're going to fall in love with it. That's a goal we're going to get to in a minute. So that's kind of the idea with this is when someone comes in, make sure that you know what they're looking for and adjust your initial intro to that specifically. Now they've enrolled. I want to talk about three key things that I can do with a new student to maximize their potential for training with us for the long haul. Of course, there's nothing I can say or do that's going to guarantee everyone that starts is going to get their black belt. But these three things will go a long way. The first one, get them in the habit of coming to class. What the heck does that mean? So the bottom line is most people, every one of us has had students that never really quite got started. They started, but they never got in the routine. And what do you know? Before the first month is over, they're not even coming in anymore. And it's not because they didn't like your program. That could be it, but more often than not, it's because they didn't develop the habit. And so what's important to understand is that, let's just say I enroll my son Christian into the program and he's supposed to come on Mondays and Wednesdays, and it's going to be the 5 o'clock class. Understand that Christian and I are already doing something else on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 o'clock, right? It might be I'm making dinner and he's, watching TV or playing a video game, who knows? But we've already got some habit in place. So step number one with new members is be really clear on when they're supposed to come in and reach out to them when they don't show up. So imagine, Christian's supposed to show up Mondays and Wednesdays. He shows up on Monday. Wednesday, he doesn't show up. Okay. And I don't call him. Monday rolls around almost a week later. Mom goes, we're kind of busy. All of a sudden, guess what? Before I realize he hasn't been in, a couple weeks have gone by and they've drifted off. But imagine this. Christian's supposed to show up Mondays and Wednesdays. He shows up Monday. Wednesday rolls around at the 5 o'clock class. He's not there. And I know how difficult this would be, but let's just say in a perfect world, 5 after 5, he's getting a text or his mom's getting a text saying, hey, we missed Christian in class. Can you make up the class tomorrow? In other words, we're getting him in the habit of coming to class. That's the first step. And it's amazing because if you can do that for the first couple of months, now they have a new habit. Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 o'clock, they're coming to class. That's just what they do. That's the first step to kind of keeping them going for the long haul. Number two, is help them develop a love for martial arts. I call it a white belt moment or an aha moment. And everybody has one of those moments. And it may not have been one of the white belt. It may have been later on, and maybe you had more than one, but that moment you go, man, this is cool. I love this. Okay. And you never know what it's going to be. You can't say, this is going to be your white belt moment. You don't know what it's going to be, but as a teacher, you're looking for those opportunities, right? You're keeping the pulse on what's going on. And once again, it might be that someone wants more confidence. So the very first time that they break a board, pow, you can just, how many times have I seen someone's eyes light up and their energy increase dramatically when they were successful? Or maybe, they're the first time they spar. Maybe they don't win the match, but they actually hung with somebody, right? That can be an aha moment. It can be the first time they hit a bag really hard. By the way, what I would strongly encourage you to do when you is try to set, one of the ways you can make the white belt moments happen is set them up for success. So what I mean by that is that initially speaking, we want to make sure when we ask a student to do something, the first few months of training, make sure that they experience success. If you don't think they're going to be successful, don't ask them to do that. Okay, we call it the confidence spiral. So I want you to imagine two words, confidence and success, and I want you to see how they're related. If I'm confident in something, what does that do to my success? It increases. If my success increases, am I more likely to be confident or less likely to be confident? More likely to be confident. So it's this spiral, right? But the reverse is also true. If I fail at something, what does that do to my confidence? It decreases. If my confidence is lower, am I more likely to fail? Yes, I am. So now this goes the other way. We see this in athletics all the time when an athlete's going through a slump. So the key thing is with new members to help them develop that white belt moment is set them up for success by having them do things that they're going to be mostly successful. Over time, they're not always going to win the match, Sometimes they're going to have to tap. Sometimes the board's not going to break, and that's okay. That's good, actually. But initially, minimize that. And the third step for new members is get them thinking long-term. And what do I mean by that, man? The more times that you can program people, the fact that they're going to be doing this for a long haul, right? And so, for example, that's I think, the value of having a black belt club. It doesn't have anything to do, to me, it doesn't have anything to do with a long-term financial commitment or a different pair of pants they get to wear, anything like that. That's fine, but that's not what it's about. For me, it's about getting someone, looking in the eye and getting them to commit to long-term training, okay? Because when you can do that, man, then you can visualize, help them to see where they're going. That makes a big difference, okay? An example is a few nights back, I was in one of our locations and I met a parent of there. They had like a 7-year-old girl that was just got their orange belt, and I have this nice talk with her and the parents. And I looked at the parents in the talk and I go, Marsha's going to be training with us until she goes away to college, don't you? And there's something, the other thing that followed would be there's something magical that happens when a child grows up in a martial arts school. And by the way, if you're a martial arts school owner or instructor, that's a fact. It really is. There is something amazing that happens. But I'm planting that seed early. Last night, we had a promotion for one of our instructors. And it was somebody that runs our demo team. His name is Garrett Allen. He's an amazing instructor, an amazing guy. He's been part of the school for years and years. Well, our demo team is called the Red and Black Attack. They've been around for 25 or 30 years. They're incredibly good. If you go to YouTube, Red and Black Attack, you'll see their performances. Stellar. As a matter of fact, Christian, the run that does the podcast, was on that team. He grew up on that team, right? He's looking, yeah. But anyway, so since Garrett runs the Red and Black Attack, boy, all these people came down to watch, and we had we had alumni. So there's one gal who is now in college, but she grew up on the demo team, and I hadn't seen her since she graduated from high school like a year and a half ago. And she comes in, and I have this conversation, and I look at this 19-year-old confident, this person with a very strong self-image, super courteous, super polite, and I look, man, that's what we do. And it reinforces me when I see these younger parents, to reinforces my will and my desire to plant those seeds, because I believe it, but it also, I want them to paint a picture of where their child, see them having a picture of where their child could be in years if they keep training. Okay. So super important step number 3 was get them thinking long-term. So you've got a new member in the school, get them in the habit of coming to class. help them develop a white belt moment, and get them thinking long term. Now, there's a couple other things that I wanted to discuss as far as general retention tips, and I want to keep it pretty basic and simple. But one of them is encourage socialization. And what do I mean by that? Clearly not during class. Okay, but the stronger your bond can be amongst your students, the longer they're going to train with you. I'm going to use last night for an example, and a bunch of the demo team students show up, and they're friends, they know each other, they hang out together, and guess what? That connection, that socialization is keeping them training longer because of that. So the more things that you can do to facilitate that, not just with your students, but the parents of your junior students, and of course your adult students, the more things you can do to encourage socialization, the stronger you're going to keep that bond. The next one is keep them challenged. This is really important to remember, that we're genetically wired to want challenges. At least most all of us do. Like why do people do like a Spartan race, or a mud run, or climb a mountain, or fight in a tournament, or do a jiu-jitsu match, or whatever it is? Because we like challenges. We like to kind of embrace that uncertainty and test ourselves. And so that's something that we got to do on a regular basis. If you get complacent, and this is why I see a lot of people, maybe after they get their black belt, kind of drift off, because as instructors, we think, oh, they'll be around forever. So we don't challenge them as much. So make sure that you keep them challenged. You find something for them that's going to kind of bring them to the next level. This one's a big one. Hold them accountable. What I mean by that is that make sure on a regular basis you ask your students, when are they coming back to class again? Imagine if rolling off your tongue at the end of every class was, when are you going to be in again? When am I going to see you again? Right? So let's just say, for example, Christian is losing interest. He shows up on a Monday, and I ask him, I go, hey, how was, he was an okay class. It wasn't his turnaround class, but it was okay. And as he's leaving, I go, Christian, are you going to be in Wednesday? And he says, yes. Okay. Wednesday rolls around. The fact that he told me he was going to go to Wednesday does not guarantee that he's going to make class on Wednesday, but he's more likely to come to class on Wednesday because he gave me that commitment. By the way, I might have forgotten, but he remembers. Wednesday rolls around. Oh man, I don't really feel like going to class. I told Mr. Kovar I would, so I'll show up. He shows up to class, and that's the class. That's when he gets his mojo back. That's his turnaround class, and he's back in the races. Okay. So make sure to go out of your way to hold your students accountable. A couple more. And this one seems obvious, but it's worth talking about. It's got to be fun, man. And remember, there's a difference between having fun and being funny, okay? But class has got to be enjoyable. You could, yesterday I did some sparring with the staff, and I did a little clinch work and a little grappling. And if you had a close-up watching me, I wasn't smiling, right? I'm not going, laughing, but I tell you what, it's great fun, right? So what we're talking about is you got to, as an instructor, we got to make sure that people are enjoying the class, right? And by the way, you can have fun and discipline. They are not contrary to each other. They can go hand in glove if you know what you're doing. We call it the SSL rule: smiling, sweating, and learning, right? And it doesn't mean literally smiling, but enjoyment of class. Okay. The next one is, on top of that, I'm going to give you one more, and we'll let you go for the day, and that is connection. It's important that we keep connected with our students, that they know that I knew that they were there. They know that you knew that they were there. Okay. And when you see someone and you say hello, you really try to connect with them. And if you ever done a Japanese tea ceremony, there's a phrase, ichigo ichi-e. And ichigo ichi-e, I'm sure I'm messing with the pronunciation terribly, but basically what it means is one chance, one encounter. And it means today is the only day that I get a chance to talk to you about retention, all right? And so I owe it to you. I owe you in this podcast to give you my very best, right? And so that's what we're talking about with connection. The same thing with students. When the students show up, when you say, how are you? Hello, how are you? Or hey, good to see you. I usually don't say, how are you? Because sometimes you might get sidetracked. Mean it. When you walk up and you're talking to them during class and you have a conversation, see them, be connected with them. Because if you can keep that connection strong, man, people don't quit relationships, right? Yeah, so the stronger you can keep that connection with your students, the better off you are. So I covered a lot of stuff for today, and hopefully something rang a bell for you. All right, but remember to start out with the 5 mindsets: friendly, clean, great classes, excellent student parent communication, always be recruiting. Okay, when someone comes in, they're thinking about enrolling your program. Make sure that you know what they're looking for so you can scratch their itch. They've enrolled. What can I do out of the gate to get them going? 3 things. Get them in the habit of coming to class, help them develop a white belt moment, get them thinking long term. Then beyond that, what do we want to do? We want to encourage socialization, keep them challenged, hold accountable, make sure classes are friendly, or classes are fun, and make sure you keep your connection strong. So hopefully one of those tips jumps out for you. Maybe you're doing it all already, and if you are, I promise your school's rocking. If it's not where you want it to be, take a look at all those and see what you can make better. Thanks a ton for listening in, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in today to our podcast. I hope you found it valuable and inspirational. To stay connected, please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you go for your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, please give us a 5-star review. And we really sincerely would appreciate some feedback. Your feedback helps us to create high-quality content that will help others in the future. If you'd like to follow me, you can go to Dave Kovar on Facebook or Haunchie Dave Kovar on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on next episode.